Recording.
Yay, we are live. Let's get us live on Instagram too as well. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited about this conversation tonight. So excited. Oh goodness. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Lanisha, thank you for being a guest today. We are having a live capacity conversation. We're really talking a lot about how fear and stress kind of work hand in hand, that impacts our capacity, it impacts our confidence, it shows up personally and professionally. And so tonight we have myself, Nicole Roan, the capacity coach, everybody's favorite capacity coach. And we also have Miss Lanisha Ely, who is joining us. And I could brag all day long about you, what you do, all of your amazingness, but I love for you to talk a little bit about what you do, and then we'll get into this conversation.
Thank you so much. Hey, Nicole, capacity coach. I am excited to be here. I am Lanisha Ely, known as the confidence doula. I am a career driven entrepreneur, wife, mother, and proud Miami native who is now home to the DC metro area. I am a 7-time author. I help and guide women, especially those 40 plus Black women, embrace their leadership persona and lead with confidence and authenticity. I am so excited about this conversation because it matters so much to what we're living through right now. So I'm ready to dive right on in.
That's what I get for muting myself, right? I need to just stay unmuted. Oh my goodness. Such a good kickoff because we know that there's so much that is happening in the world, especially here in the US with all the different changes and things. And I know for me personally, it's brought up a lot of fear,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it's brought up a lot of stress. And so, because this is Stress Awareness Month, and you know this because I'm passionate about stress for a really big reason, because stress almost took me out in 2019, right?
Mm-hmm.
And since then, I've been helping women in organizations really to manage their competing priorities. And it's a perfect time for us to have this conversation because I know we both know some folks personally who are severely impacted by a lot of the changes.
Right.
But also, just when you even take that out of the equation, just the regular everyday stuff, being a mom, being a wife, being a business owner, being an employee, sometimes fear and stress can creep in and
Mm-hmm.
cause us to have self doubt. It can cause us to, you know, not sleep very well. It causes a whole bunch of things. And I couldn't think of anybody more perfect to have on this session today, other than the confidence doula herself, to kind of talk a little bit about how, all of these things really work together. And
Mm-hmm.
so I love to really kind of start and talk about how fear kind of disguises itself as overthinking and
Yeah.
procrastination
Yeah.
and perfectionism. How have you seen that, show up for you and or your clients or, coworkers?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, you've said a lot just in that little snippet in the beginning because it's what so much of us are going through, are feeling, but we're not saying the words out, outright. One thing we know about stress, it shrinks us, whether that's in our personal lives, at home, how we show up as wives, as mothers, how we show up in the workplace, in our leadership. It shrinks our energy. It shrinks our nurturing because we're nurturers by nature, and that stress makes us second guess our decisions. So you said it, we overthink, we feel like we're losing control, and everything may look like it's fine on the outside, but on the inside, we're in shambles. And you asked for me, how did fear show up? Or when did I know that it was fear? Uh, Fear for me, and like many people like me, high achieving women, it does not show up loudly. What
Mm,
it shows up as is over functioning, releasing your boundaries. So saying yes to everything, carrying the weight of so much and others, your team, and you find yourself feeling resentful. You find yourself extremely tired and complaining of just not being seen, being invisible. So for me, what stress did was it cost me my rest, like real rest. It cost me happiness and joy. It was at that point that I knew, hey, wait a minute, this is both not just fear, it's stress, and the two together was just stealing everything away from me. I think it was you in an earlier post that said fresh and fear and stress are confidence thieves, and
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
exactly what it did. I was losing myself in the process of overthinking, being too present, being there for everybody but myself. I wasn't resting, and I lost myself. What I realized is, as women, and this is a point that I really wanted to make, because I thought about it as I was preparing for our conversation. As women, we don't break when we're weak,
Mm,
because society has taught us, our families, traditions, and cultures have taught us that women are pliable. We can bend. We don't break when we're weak. Weak just means do more.
mm,
But let me tell you when we break, and you know this because you've mentioned it before. As women, we break when we're overloaded and no one notices it to stop us and say, "Hey, friend, are you okay?" Or we break when we don't even notice it for ourselves and we find ourselves, laid out somewhere.
mm-hmm,
So I want us to change the narrative of feeling weak, and as a woman, you can't show your weakness. You need to um, be there. You need to pick yourself up, put your own rest on the back burner, you know, because you got
mm-hmm.
to make it happen for everybody else.
It's your job, right? You
It's
got
your
the cape.
it's your job. If you don't do it,
It won't get done. The
it
lies
won't.
we tell.
The lies we tell. So just realizing that we break when we're overloaded. We break when we get in those feelings of we're invisible or we're resentful, and that's fear. That's fear.
My goodness, you said so much. It's making my scalp itch. Um, but it's all the truth, right? One of the things that you mentioned was the weakness part. And so when I think about fear and weakness, I think about how we, especially as you mentioned, as high achieving women, we fear asking for help because we don't want to look weak,
Right.
right? And then God forbid we really need the help, that impacts our confidence if we accept the help. And
Right.
so being able to really change that narrative of, hey, I know that I can do it all, but just because I can doesn't mean that I should. Because
Right.
then that leads us to that breaking point, right? Whether it's not being able to focus at work, whether it's losing sleep, whether it is ending up in the hospital like me,
Hmm.
I feel like fear plays a really big part in that.
Okay.
One of the things that you also said was about how it shows up subtly. It's not loud. And ma'am, that's why so many of us dismiss it, right? Because it's this little thing. It starts with
Hmm.
one thought
Hmm.
that snowballs into a couple more thoughts, and then we're talking about stuff out loud and saying, "Oh, well, like I was saying before we hopped on, one of the fears I had before I, moved corporate positions a while ago was I can't get another job that's closer to home
Right.
because I'm afraid I won't get paid the same amount,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? And so let's talk a little bit about some of that, right? We've talked about how fear can show up subtly, um, but I want to ask: have you ever mistaken fear or stress for motivation by chance?
By chance, absolutely. How often?
Listen,
All the time. Um, even it happened this week. What's today? Tuesday? It happened today.
what day is it, right?
What day is it? It happened today. So I often mistake stress um, when I know that I'm in that adrenaline rush of getting a project done, or um, I'm not realizing that I'm actually being very anxious. I'm in a season of anxiety instead of having peace and clarity to power through whatever it is I'm trying to get through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Earlier this week, well, I keep saying earlier this week, and it's Tuesday.
I
See,
know.
am
It's
I stressed?
listen.
Am I
It's
stressed?
given a full week on Tuesday
It's given a
already.
full week on day two of the week. What I called it when I mistake stress for motivation a few days ago, I said, you know what? Is this is this management? Is this fear in management? And I say that I questioned myself because sometimes when I'm managing my team and I lose focus on delegating tasks or actually being a leader to them, I realize that it's fear that has creeped in.
Mm-hmm.
That's skewing my vision of strategy, and it's usually being seen as I don't want others to think my team isn't great, or I don't want others to think my team is incompetent, or me as a leader managing this group of people, I don't want to seem incompetent.
Mm-hmm.
So I get into that adrenaline rush and that drive, and that's like, oh, let me do it, let me dip in. What are you guys doing? That almost micromanaging
Mm-hmm.
season, and that stress. I see it as let me jump in and motivate and inspire my team to do more and give them a morale boost. Instead, I'm stressed. Now I'm giving them stress.
And
The
it's
whole
stress on
place is
stress on
stressed.
stress. Yes.
So I think for me, we have to, in those moments, have some clarity checks. Some, like, sis, check yourself. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Are you causing stress because you are stressed? Because we do that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Call it what it is, name it, allow yourself time to grab some peace so that you can power through whatever it is you're trying to finish. So that's
Mm-hmm.
not motivation. It's
No.
stress, anxiety, it's fear, it's people
Yes.
pleasing.
Ooh, look here. You're making my scalp itch again. And I love that you say that because it shows up so I think more often than we care to admit, right? There's got to be this honesty piece and this self-awareness piece
Mhm.
where sometimes we do cause fear or we call fear and stress motivation when the truth is it's being rooted by one of the things you said, I don't want anybody to think dot dot dot, right?
Right.
So we go into fix it mode and we try to control and navigate, and really, what that is saying, I'm afraid for me, I can say,
Mhm.
we've been in cahoots with each other for quite some time now. I
Cahoots.
remember when I had a VA, I said, you know, I don't believe that my VA can do it like I can do, right? I didn't say it out of my mouth, but my actions showed that because I was hesitant to delegate certain things. And when we do that, we're really stifling ourselves. And
Mhm.
it's not good for our organizations. It's not good for our businesses. It's not good for us. And so being able to call a thing and step back and recognize with that self-awareness that, hey, this isn't really motivating me. This is causing me to be somebody I don't want to be.
Right. And as a leader, you said something, Reese, just now, that you realized that you were stifling yourself. And as a leader, you're also stifling your team. You can't lead your team in a state of chaos and
Mm-hmm,
stress and capacity.
mm-hmm,
So, not managing on the separate side as a leader, you are, your value and your goal is to motivate, inspire, empower those that work along with your team. So you
mm-hmm,
want to be able to build them up, not tear them down or smother them with your stress and anxiety and fear.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I love it. And it makes me think about, you know, as we're talking about fear and stress, how does that show up in our confidence, right? Not just at work and in our businesses, but even personally.
Mhm.
How have you seen that?
So, fear and stress shows up in confidence with our voice. It
Mm.
it takes our voice away.
Come on, elaborate. I gotta
You
lean in.
know? So when when you say you're sitting in a meeting or you're having a conversation with someone and you know you have the answer, you have the solution to their problem, but you're in a space of fear and stress, lack of motivation, so you don't say anything.
Hmm.
You hold it in. So it takes your voice, it snatches it, it muffles it. But on the inside, the real you behind the wall of stress and fear is whispering, "Girl, you got the answer.
Raise your
Say
hand.
it, sis. Say it. They need to hear it." But you're looking around the room saying, what are they going to think of me when I say the words?
Hmm.
When I show up as my true self, how are they going to feel about me? And I talk a lot about unapologetic and being authentic. Um, Fear sometimes stop you from showing up as the real you. What
Hmm.
do? We send our representative.
I was just about to say that.
We send our representative. We don't send, you know, Southern Florida, Miami native in the room. I'm gonna send to you, Harvard, Georgetown. I'm gonna send that person in the room when fear and anxiety is
Fluent,
taking over.
educated, sophisticated, right?
Right. But this Miami native is educated, sophisticated. I can say all the words and be in all the rooms
Hmm.
as my authentic self, showing up fully. So that is one way that fear and stress kind of attacks our confidence. It really is an attack because on the inside you know the answer, but you got something fighting you, holding you. You know
Hmm.
how you say grabbing those lips
Listen,
so you don't say anything.
intentional closed, right?
Hmm.
My goodness, that's so good. And as I sit here and think about for me, how has that fear and stress showed up and kind of muffled, if you will, my confidence?
Hmm.
Um, I think about personally, right? In relationships. Sometimes, and I guess I'll use a very personal example. Um, when my husband and I were going through our separation, the
Hmm.
decision to lead up to that, the fear that I feared what other people would think about me, right? I look so good on paper and I got all these degrees
Hmm.
and everything looks so good on the outside. What are people going to think if I separate, right?
Right.
You know, the fear of being a single mom again, right?
Hmm.
All of those things kind of stifled my decision to do what was best for me until I had to sit down somewhere, and the stress that came from the fear and overthinking
Is what
and
set you down.
right is what sat me down. And even when I think about that professionally, you and I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago about a conversation that I needed to have or that I needed to have. And you said, ma'am, who's telling you that story? Who's the director?
Right.
Who are you, the director of this movie, or are you not?
Right.
And the fear impacted my confidence to have the necessary conversation to express what I needed, what I wanted, um, and stopped me dead in my tracks.
Right.
And so, if we allow fear to roam around rent free, as they say, in our heads, then it impacts how we show up. It
Right.
impacts the decisions that we make. Um, and so, yeah, I thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I forgot about that conversation, but I remember it so vividly
I did
because
not.
I'm talking to you, but it's also for me as well. We allow fear to narrate the screenplay, our screenplay of our lives. But
Hmm.
who's, like I said, who's the director? You are the star, the director, the producer, the executive, all the roles in this screenplay. It's you. So you have the power to choose. You have the
Hmm.
power to decide, do I want to go out here and perform? Do I want to send my representative? Or do I choose to show up as me?
Mm,
And that's really when you kind of flip that switch and say, goodbye, fear. Let me rebuild the trust with myself. Let me tap into the confidence that I have, that
mhm,
whisper that's inside. Let me turn up the volume
mhm,
and let it be known.
mhm. I love it. I love it so much. And kind of circling back to how fear and stress work hand in hand, right? I guess what I want people to understand is how the fear that we have can lead to chronic stress, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And if we are constantly letting that the fear, whether it's to start a new job, if it's to, start your own business, if it's to have healthier relationships, with friends and family and things of that nature, if we let that fear run rent free in our heads, it stops us. And then being in that stuck state
Mm-hmm.
causes that stress, right? And so the chronic stress that I'm talking about, I want us to understand how it doesn't just affect our confidence. It doesn't just affect our decision making. It affects our sleep, right? It affects our eating habits.
Right.
It really affects our overall ability to lead well as moms, as business owners, as employees. And so, do you have an example of where um, chronic stress has impacted you from leading well?
Yes, ma'am. Listen, this should be the next book. Examples. Yes, ma'am.
Come on, examples.
Yes, ma'am. I think for me, um, it's those telltale signs or red flags, if you will,
Mm-hmm,
that start small. We talked about, if your sleep is off. I know for me, if my sleep pattern starts to get off, if I can't go to sleep or I'm up, throughout the night until 5 a.m., something is bothering me. Um,
mm-hmm,
you become more irritable. So, you're lashing out at your family members, you're short tempered, this, your body feels tight. We talked a lot before about doing a body audit or a body scan,
mm-hmm,
quiet, grounding yourself and seeing what your body is saying to you. And
mm-hmm,
that can show up as headaches, that can show up as, um, you know, being drained just for doing the littlest task. Those are those early signs and red flags that showed up for me, where I
mm-hmm,
know I have to stop mistaking survival for strength. And I
mm-hmm,
think when we realize that stress has overtaken us and we're laid out or we're feeling numb or our emotions are off kilter.
mm-hmm.
Have you ever had, like you should be very emotional about something, but you just don't care.
It's like,
You you
have
just
I?
don't care, like because you don't have the capacity for it.
Yes.
Capacity for it. Um, those are those signs, and for me, that's when I was like, wait a minute, there's something else
Mm-hmm,
here, you
mm-hmm,
know. But usually by the time I realize it, I've normalized the chaos that I'm in,
mm.
and I'm calling that chaos productivity. So my sleepless nights, instead of sleeping, I'm writing content. Ooh,
Mm,
I just kicked out another book. And it's
mhm.
like, no, fool,
You
you're
supposed to be.
stressed.
Listen, and our good friend Latika is in the comments, and she said that it affects us emotionally, physically,
Mhm.
mentally, and spiritually, right? And that it impacts how we show up for ourselves and others. And that's a prime example
Right.
because we tend to ignore those telltale signs, right? Oh, I'm just being productive. No, you not. Because you
And
not getting your sleep and writing a whole new book is not going to help you be up early in the morning when your kids got to get on the bus, sit through
right.
those morning meetings and do the things that you need to do. So it's about recognizing that. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it.
And reframing how we normalize what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Stop normalizing the chaos. I tell myself all the time, stop. This is not normal.
Mm-hmm.
Say it
Mm-hmm.
out loud. This is not normal.
If only more of us would say the thing out loud, right?
I mean, for some of us it's easy to do, for some of us it's easy to say. You got to be
Mm-hmm.
able to do both.
Yeah, both. You have to do both.
And I
Ah,
don't claim that I do it all the time and correctly. But these are the things that I know.
Yeah,
And knowing, what do they say?
it's
Knowing
half the
is half
battle.
the battle.
It's half the battle, right? You're talking about not normalizing the chaos, and my last podcast episode was called choosing capacity over chaos.
Mm,
And I think sometimes we forget that we have a choice.
right,
And part of that is because we have normalized ripping and running and people pleasing and really just soothing and our stress, right? Coping with it in the morning or in the moment versus just doing something that's going to help us manage it and prevent it from coming back.
right.
And sometimes that's having those hard conversations with ourselves. Sometimes it's having those come to Jesus moments about, what's working and what's not working. Again, whether it's a relationship, whether it is in your business, whether it is at work. I had to have one of those conversations over the last couple of weeks when I looked at, the structure of my business and where I want to go and,
Mhm.
what's coming in versus what's coming out. And you got to say the thing out loud.
We got to say it out loud. What I want to, though, sometimes when we're doing this audit of what's not working, we're so external with it. What's not working at work? What's
Mm,
not working with this or how I manage my
lean in
business?
again.
Well, listen, have you asked yourself what's not working with you? Internally, what do you need to let go of?
Mhm.
Internally, what do you have to stop doing that's stealing your confidence, that's stealing your capacity, that's stealing your mind, making you go crazy? We
Mhm.
so much say it's external. What are the internal factors that we're normalizing? Who
Mhm.
taught us to normalize survival mode? As women, as moms, as wife, who or what taught us to normalize survival mode?
Mhm.
Let's pre-program that.
Ma'am.
Download new software.
Yes. Do you not remember our undo and unlearn?
Undo and
Listen.
unlearn. That's an attachment that we need
Mhm.
to find alignment and then
Mhm.
give it an affirmation.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
our three-step system.
Listen. It I love it. I love it. I love it because it makes me think about the essence of capacity, right? Capacity is built on what do you value,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
What do you value? Because when you start making sure that how you're spending your time, what you're giving your energy to is attached to what you value,
right.
it shifts things. The
Mhm,
stress comes in when you're not in that alignment, right?
right.
When that alignment is off and you say that you want to spend more time with your family, but you are working 60, 70 hours a week. You say that you want to eat healthy, but you're not making the time, right? Not finding it, but you're not making the time
Mhm,
to do what you need to do.
mhm,
And then that's exasperating everything else. And so I love that you talk about that and making sure that we understand, getting our heart and our mind on the same page,
mhm.
downloading that new software because it's required for us to be able to show up and manage our stress, to increase our confidence, and to have the capacity to do the things that we need to do. So,
That we need to do. And you talk a lot about, and it's something that I also adopted in my birth framework is habits. So
mm,
once we identify what we need to do and change, we have to start creating new habits, new healthy habits, healthy,
mhm,
boundary habits, work
mhm,
habits, productivity like create new habits that you follow. Create a regimen for them,
mhm.
morning, noon, and night.
Yeah. Look, I had a call earlier, and you know how we talk about how we need a us for us?
Yes.
When I tell you this was just a friend check-in, right? When I tell you she got me all together, and that was not the point of the call. We were supposed to be checking in on each other, but we
Mhm,
were, talking about routines and, being able to create work-life balance or, work-life alignment, integration, whatever it is that we call it these days.
mhm.
And she said, "Ma'am, can I be honest with you?" I said, "Yes." She said, "It sounds like you need to update your routine." I
Mm-hmm.
said, "Excuse me?" But
I'm the
it was the
capacity
truth.
coach.
Right. I'm the capacity coach. But it's so important for us to be able to step back and say, yes, I do need to update my routines and my regimens to support me and where I am now, not
Right.
where I was 6 months ago, not where I was 2 years ago, and being able to use that again to support how we're showing up as leaders and
Mhm.
especially to manage our stress
Right.
with those healthy habits. I believe that healthy habits, along with healthy people, create
Mhm.
healthy businesses. And in order to do that, you got to have boundaries. You have to be able to not just manage your time, but manage your energy, right?
Right. Mhm.
And have the right people around you as well. And so
Mhm.
you don't know it, but you're part of my stress management team.
I was just gonna say that's a perfect example because you know us, we have our weekly, bi-weekly. If we don't chat with each other, we're texting with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that helps with fear and stress as well.
Mm-hmm.
Having your circle, your accountability partners, whatever you call them, your sister circles, your lean-in circles, whatever name you want to give it, have
Mm-hmm.
you somebody that could be, and I think I've said this before, have you three people, have you a Peter, John, and a James.
Listen, come
You
on
know,
now.
you know who to call. You call Peter for things you need to get done.
Mm, mm.
You
See,
know,
you're gonna make me say that
you know who
again.
you need to call when you just need somebody to talk to nurture you and give you some good tidings, And then you
Mm-hmm.
know somebody you call, you need some wisdom. So
Mm-hmm.
you have your three people on speed dial and
Mm-hmm.
identify them and be okay with saying, if I text you, Nicole, I'm losing it. I need you.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll be able to say, create about, tell them no.
Mm-hmm.
You need a boundary. You don't
You
need
need
me.
that reinforcement.
Right. Right. So that is so important. And I love that you had that friend. So because a friend check-in is can turn into so much more. So I love that you
Mm-hmm.
have that. And you are that for me. And I know Latika was on the call. She is that for us and a lot of other people.
Yeah.
Coaches need coaches too.
Yeah, they do. They absolutely do. And I thank you for that. You know, having a sister circle and sister friends, is really something that has changed my life. And I talked about this on a live, about how it takes a village to raise an adult. And I pinned this comment of Monique because she said, whoo, now listen, I spoke at her event back in March, right? It was the Nurture You Summit. And it was about having those different resources and being able to um, leverage our faith as well with mental health and just being able to do all the different things. And so we're that for each other as well, right? Like I can recall it was probably like a week or so ago, and I she knew I said I just need to hear your voice, right? Because there's stuff that's going on. How many times have I done that? But
Right.
being able to have people in our circles that allow us to number one be authentic, that we can bounce ideas off of and say,
Mhm.
hey, sis, I'm struggling. I need some reinforcement. That
Mhm.
helps to subside the fear and the stress that comes along. Because 9 times out of 10, one of the things Leandra said when we were live last week is that you are having this conversation about your stress with yourself and then you answering yourself. And how often do we do that, right?
We do
And
it
it's
all the
because we're
time.
so smart and we're high achieving. We're like, I got this. I don't need nobody else, which goes back to the mindset of I'm weak if I ask for help. So I'm a
Right.
pause. I'm sure you got something to say.
I love it. That's because that's what fear is. We constantly ask ourselves, what if I mess this up?
Oh, that's such a
What
big
if I mess this up?
one. Mm.
Or what if, like we've been saying, what if they think I'm not capable or no longer capable? If I ask for help, they're going to think I can't do it.
They hired the wrong person.
They hire the wrong person. So what do they do? So what do we do in that moment? We delay, we try to perfect, And then with fear and stress, it just amplifies all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And we know what we know about perfectionism or
Mm.
being perfect. DNP.
Done not perfect.
There you
Somebody
go.
type that in the comments. Done not
Somebody
perfect. Because I know
DN
somebody needed to hear that.
right, right.
Oh.
Being all of that is not honoring your capacity. It's not being a leader. It's not being a great entrepreneur. You know what that is? It's fear in disguise.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when we know what was that cartoon? Was it Scooby Doo? When you catch the person and you rip the mask off?
Yes, yes, Scooby Doo. You see really who's under there?
Am I showing
Jinkies.
am I showing my age?
I
Rip the
just said
mask
Jinkies,
off,
so listen.
rip the mask off of that what we're telling ourselves about stress and
Mm-hmm.
fear. It's in
Mm-hmm.
disguise and it's showing up in our bodies, in our minds, in how we show up with other people, how we talk to other people. Um, Rip the disguise off, rip the mask off. Yes, done not
Mm-hmm.
perfect. DNP.
Listen, we have to. I want to say, um, last week I did a kind of a mini training at the co-working space that I used to be at for the small business study hall, and we were talking about stress for small business owners and how important it is. Monique said we are all in her business. We
We've
were
been
talking
watching
about,
you.
yeah, right, how stress as small business owners, we all face it, right? Whether it is trying to get new clients, trying to scale our business, managing the plethora of things that we have to do, but how important it is to be in spaces like this,
Right.
right? To be in spaces where we're not doing what Monique said that she was doing. She said, I've been talking to myself about myself all day and answering, right? How many times do we do that?
All day long.
As leaders, as business owners, as the caregivers, all of that stuff. And so making sure that we're tuning into events like this, making sure that we are getting in the spaces and places that allow us to literally flourish is so detrimental to how we manage our stress, to our confidence. Because behind the scenes, sometimes I'm like, I don't really know if I can do this. And I
Right.
got a post that's scheduled tomorrow that talks a little bit about this, that says, having people in your circle that say, sis, you're shrinking, what would you tell me?
Ooh, you are all that.
Listen,
No need to shrink. You got it. Show up. You have
yeah,
the answers, the solutions. Listen, I may throw out a few affirmations.
yeah, yeah. And it's so important. And I say that to say that having this conversation with you tonight was important to me.
Mhm,
Not only because of it being National Stress Awareness Month, but also because I know how much stress and fear have impacted my confidence. How it's a constant process. It's not a one and done, right?
mhm,
We need to constantly work at it. And so before I let you get out of here, I want to ask you one thing.
mhm.
Can you talk to us a little bit about how confidence can be rebuilt
Mm,
through rest, reflection, and intentional action?
mm. Yes, I can. Before I answer that, though, I want to acknowledge something in this space right now because it just came to me, and I want to be open and transparent with everyone. Before we started this conversation, we both were like, oh my goodness, it's been a day. It's been a week. It's Tuesday. All these things are going on where, we're tired, we're feeling overwhelmed. But over the last, 30, 40 minutes, have you noticed your energy change?
It's shifted, it's through the roof.
Have you noticed? So, being in spaces and having a conversation where you could share and have someone that can relate, that's like minded, it's going to help build your confidence. It's going to give you that boost that you need. And then to answer your question, how could we rebuild confidence or can confidence be rebuilt through rest? And Absolutely. I like to say it's through rest, reflection, and then intentional action.
Mm.
And what that is when you have the rest, when you allow your body to rest, not just your body, your mind to rest, you give yourself peace and space to think, right? So you're clearing the
Mhm.
clutter to think. And then in those thinking moments or the clarity moments, excuse me, you have the reflection. And in reflection is where we hear that voice that I talked about earlier, that whisper, your
Mhm.
true authentic voice. So when you're
Mhm.
reflecting, you hear the real you talking to you. So when we ask ourselves questions that we're answering, we're still hearing from that representative if we're coming from a
Mhm.
space of stress and fear.
Mhm.
But
Ooh, you better say
when you get into
it.
rest mode and you can think clearly, you can have clear reflections, then you're able to hear that small whisper, which is the real you. That's not the fear.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
the action piece, the intentional action, what that is just clearly saying, I'm going to decide not to perform. I'm going to decide not to show
Mm.
up as the
I'm
star
not
of
sending my
someone
representative.
else's performance, right? I talked about, and I don't know, I think it's in a post I shared recently about having a clarity break in the moment, realizing that you're currently inside someone else's projections of you. And that's a confidence thief in itself. So being able to
Mm.
decide and choose that I'm about to stop performing. I'm a curtain
Mm.
closed. I am choosing me. I am choosing to trust that whisper on the inside. I am choosing to trust myself, my authentic self. And I'm also going to choose rest.
Mm.
I'm going to choose that family will be okay with sandwiches tonight because mama need to rest. I'm going to choose to not allow my accrual PTO to stop accruing because I haven't taken off days.
I'm about to jump out this seat.
Right? Like, have you reached 288 hours? Yes, and seed. Take your day, you know?
Yes.
So I think that's a way we could start to rebuild confidence, and that comes one with trusting ourselves,
Mhm.
trusting that we could rest. Because sometimes we
Mhm.
tell ourselves, "You can't rest.
We do.
You got too much going on.
What we say at the beginning, if I don't do it, it won't get done.
It won't get done. Who gonna feed the kids? They gonna eat. They will eat. They will eat. Who gonna wash the
Mhm.
dishes? Who gonna prepare the report? It'll get done.
Mhm.
You don't have to be the one to do it. So rest to have space to think. What else did we say? Reflection. So
Mhm.
you can hear the little whisper on
Mhm.
the
You gotta get
inside.
quiet enough to hear it. Yeah.
You got to get quiet to hear it. And
Mhm.
you got to be honest in your reflection. Listen, we talked about
That
that's
honesty
another something
part.
we talked about. Realizing when we're leading with our preferences rather than our purpose.
Mm.
You can only realize that when you're resting and you're in reflection.
Yeah. Because when you're in stress mode, you're not hearing things clearly, right?
No.
When you're letting fear creep in, that's compounding the stress. That's
Right.
then impacting your confidence and impacting how you show up. I appreciate you so much for sharing those things because those are the same things that you do to manage your stress as well, right? The fear and the stress go hand in hand. And if
Right.
we're not pausing intentionally so that we can hear that inner whisper, if we're not reflecting and being honest in our reflections, the same things that stressed us out last year are going to be the same things that stressed us out this year,
Right.
right?
And it may show up differently. So you're not going to recognize it early
Mm-hmm.
on. So it
Mm-hmm.
may show up differently. But when you start to call it out, then you're ripping off that Scooby-Doo mask and you're seeing it before it comes.
Jinkies. I'm gonna stop saying that. No, it's all of that. It's all of that. I am so grateful for you participating today and for your continued partnership on camera, off camera. I'm grateful for the wisdom that you pour into the world, the space that you hold for me, the work that you do in helping us to rebuild our confidence, which helps to reduce some of that stress as well. Because when you show up confident, baby, can't nobody tell you nothing,
Mm-mm.
right? And you show up like God sent you in the room. And in order for us to do that, we have to be able to call a thing,
Right.
especially when it comes to fear, but also understanding how that feeds into our stress. And
Mm-hmm.
so I want to, before I have you, talk about any of the new things that you have going on. I know you got a new book out, work the chapter and
Yes.
some other things. I want to invite everybody who's watching live or who are catching the replay. We are doing a stress detox this Saturday. This Saturday, April 26th in Crown Point, Indiana. So if you are in the area, make sure that you come on, check it out. We're going to have a stress assessment, a coping versus managing assessment as well. And then we're going to put together a personalized stress detox plan. Additionally, PSSSSS, we have the second annual capacity conference happening in August 1st and 2nd. Really, July 31st is the VIP day as well, where it's being hosted by the fabulous Lanisha. So
Mm-hmm.
I want you to mark your calendars and save the date for that as well, because if you enjoyed this conversation, then you are going to enjoy any and all of those events as well, right? The stress
Right.
detox is, that full day workshop, but the capacity conference is a 2-day workshop where we are getting in the room, we're doing the work, we're working on our confidence, we're working
Mm-hmm.
on our stress, we're working on our capacity, we're working on how to show up, as better moms, wives, leaders, and all of those different things. But yes, make sure that you check all of that out. You can find it on my website, www.nicoleroan.com.
Yes.
Um, and Lanisha, again, is going to be there hosting the VIP session, being part of the conference again this year. So I thank you for that. I know you have some great things that are happening. Tell the people where they can find you, what you got
Mm-hmm.
going on, and I'll
Mm-hmm.
let you get back to your evening. I know our families need us a little bit, but they're going to be all right.
They will be all right. They all right. First, I want to say, Nicole, just how proud of you I am, because all the things that you say I am to you, you are also to me. So I want to acknowledge you just in this space to say I am proud for what you're doing, what you're bringing to the world, not just in our circle, in our space, but what you're bringing to women like you who've been in positions like you, women like me who may not know it yet. We have so many women that we come in contact with that don't know that they're stressed, that don't know that they're over capacity, that don't know that they're leading with fear. So this is so important, and I appreciate you so much, and I'm grateful for you to just always have a space for these conversations to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I also want to remind everyone that
I wish, girl. That made me think of what you were saying. Thank you.
yes, I want to also remind everyone that the two events that you mentioned are just direct reflections of what we talked about getting in the space with women who could refill your cup, essentially. So these are in-person events. They're not virtual events. We get a lot virtually, but it's nothing like being in a room with somebody. If somebody needs to touch you,
Can I just tell you
yes,
how this is obedience in
yes,
action? Because this was supposed to be a virtual event.
I do know. And I
But
was so excited when I saw that you flipped it to in person, because it's nothing like being in the room where if you need to put a palm on someone's shoulder and say, sis, I understand because I was there and here's the solution, that can change someone's life. And
it's
it
changed my
has.
life.
It has done it. because we've been in spaces where it has transformed us, and we've seen it transform others. So I thank you, and I want to give you your virtual flowers, and tell you how proud I am of you.
Thank you, ma'am.
So,
Thank you so much.
what did you ask me? How can people find me?
Yes, what you got going on? You went into me. Look, and let me see. Monique knows sometimes it's hard for me to, to take that in, and that's part of the fear too, right? Like
Right.
I don't want nobody to think. But thank you for that. You went into giving me my flowers, and
Mhm.
I appreciate you. I really
That
wanted to
speaks
know.
to our feeling of somebody pouring into us. We must be weak.
Mm,
No. You know what just came to me? Oh,
I tried to lay my edges. Don't do that.
listen, I know we got to go pretty soon,
It's
but
okay.
listen, back in the day, y'all follow me for a minute. Out in the country, because I could be a little country. How they had that field post out in the field, and people went out there and they beat up a field post,
Mm-hmm.
right? They
Mm-hmm.
tore it down, but that post stuck, stood standing, and they poured on it. They tried to chop it. Sometimes we got to be a field post,
Mm,
and sometimes it's not always negativity that's getting thrown at us. We
mm,
got to be able to withstand the positive that comes, and that does not mean we're weak.
mm-hmm.
It's actually peeling back the fear that covers our strengths. It's pulling
Mm.
back that screen that covers how strong we are.
It gets you closer. It moves away the representative and gets to that whisper.
Closer to that whisper. And sometimes strength is somebody that could pour into you. Strength is love.
Mm,
Strength is nurturing. Strength is feeding your soul. So we got to stop saying we're weak when someone is, or stop feeling like we're weak when someone's giving us our accolades, when someone is pouring into us. Accept it. Say, yes, that's me. Keep it coming.
listen, I know we keep saying we gotta go, but that reminds me of the post that you did. Was it Sunday? Where it said we were bragging on ourselves, right? Drop it in the comments. That's such a
Um,
good exercise. Listen,
yes.
ma'am,
Yes, on I don't know which channel, but I said, you know what? Brag on yourself in my comments.
listen.
And sometimes you have to do that. You don't need somebody to ask you. Write it down. Get a sticky note and say how great you are, and just walk away from it and then come back to it.
Look, straight out of Confidence Doula 101. Look
That's
here.
is that it straight out of that's a song, straight out of confidence.
Stop
Okay,
it.
okay.
Okay, look.
We gotta go. But
Tell the people, thank you for that because it makes sense. Being able to receive those compliments, receive those flowers, um, only helps us,
Mhm.
right? It helps us get stronger, continue to do what we do, and know that we are worthy of that as well, right?
Right.
Because sometimes below the surface, and I know this is a whole nother topic, but below the surface, we don't believe that we're worthy or deserving of that,
Mm,
right?
mm.
And that's secretly snipping away at our capacity. That's secretly snipping away at our confidence. You got to pull that thing up from the root. So
Right.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
You're welcome. And it's not so secret. You said it's secretly. No, it's not so secret. That's one of those loud fears that come up. We see it there. We ignore it. Okay, so let me go.
Tap
Okay,
dancing, you tap dancing. I see a part two. Yes,
that's
ma'am.
a
Tell
whole.
the
I was gonna
people
say join
where
us
they
next
can
week for
find
that
you.
conversation.
Tell the people where they can find you, what
Yes,
you have going on.
yes, you can find all things about me on my website at shecaninspire.com. I also invite you all to connect with me on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, I am helping women, specifically 40 plus Black women, lead with confidence, understand their leadership persona, knowing how to use their identities and their values to just show up fully, authentically, and unapologetically. So find me on LinkedIn, visit my website as She Can Inspire. And also, you can pick up my latest book, Becoming Unapologetic. I have a chapter in that book titled The Power to Choosing Greatness. And it's a lot about what we talked about here is sometimes we have to identify that we are performing and choose and decide to do something different. I also invite you all to take my fun and interactive What's Your Coffee quiz. It is found on my website. What it is, it's going to tell you, are you a bold coffee, a bold brew, or a cappuccino or latte? And then it's going to provide you with some confidence tips in your career, in entrepreneurship, and a couple of handwritten affirmations from the confidence doula. So I have some resources for you. Check me out and connect with me. I am always looking forward to just finding and pouring into like-minded women like ourselves.
Listen, ma'am, thank you for that. And as we were talking, Monique Monique said, "Okay, Nicole, good night." Sheesh.
Okay. Listen, because we can go. They don't know.
No,
We
because we
forgot that we
telling the
live.
answers. We telling the truth about all of this stuff, right? If you would please do me a favor and on the replay once this ended, if ends, will you drop some of that information? Once upon a time, StreamYard used to allow me to type stuff in. It's not letting me do that no more, or I would have had the links ready to drop for you. I want to say that the coffee quiz that you have is bomb, and it was spot on for me. And I'm not saying that just because I'm your friend. We had a real conversation about that. We're not the kind of friends where we're going to sugarcoat and say, oh, I think it's lovely. No, I want you to give me real feedback. Ma'am, you need to fix this. This don't look right. I found this sort of error. What have you thought about? Right. But this is an amazing quiz. And please, please, please make sure that you drop your website in the comments after so folks can get access to these amazing resources from you. Okay.
Absolutely. I will do that. Thank you so much, Nicole, my friend.
You are so welcome. I thank you for your time. I'm glad that this has been engaging and hopefully it has been helpful to all those who are watching live and catching the replay. You can find me here live weekly. Listen, next month is Mental Health Awareness Month. And y'all know I got a whole lot to say on that. So tune in. Thank you for being part of this. I don't take it lightly that you have joined us. I pray you have a wonderful evening and that this has blessed you. And we will be back soon. Thank you again, Dr. Ely.
Nice.
Out there.
It's coming.
Take care.
Take care.